What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. It's when you're watching this, it's June 3rd, 2025. We're coming to you, recording this on Monday, June 2nd at 2 p.m. on the left coast. I'm back in my actual studio. Should be looking and sounding better this week, hopefully. This is Weekly Skews. I'm Trey. That's Mark. How you doing, Mark?
Good, man. When you texted this morning, me and Matt being like, I just got back from Solana. Anything happened this past week? I almost died laughing because it's like 2025 and did anything happen the past week? It's just such a funny thing. Well, I'm so jealous of your life that past week.
No, I know it. I mean, I know that, every, a standard year happens every week in 2025 in our current reality. But yeah, it's just, the Solana's just, I was doing the Patreon video earlier and I was talking about this because it's like, Solana is sort of removed from time and reality in a way for me. Don't get me wrong. It feels like going back in time, and there's also, it's kind of its own little world and not in a great way. But it's also just very practically, like, I take my kids there. My best friend is there with his family and his kids, and my in-laws are there with all their kids. Like, there's literally 11 kids, 3 of which are toddlers, right? Mm-hmm. We're running around, we're going to the park, we're going to the lake, we're going to all this stuff the whole time, and it's fun and heartwarming, but incredibly chaotic. And I think that's the bigger reason why I just lose touch completely with the rest of the world when I go to Solana.
You shouldn't know anything that's going on. I wish I'd like to be able to spot eternal sunshine, the spotless mind myself a lot of times. So. I mean, just okay. So, news of the day today. This happened, over the weekend. But two stories. We want to talk about Boulder first or Ukraine first? Which one?
No, they're both so cheery and uplifting.
Well, Ukraine's a mixed bag, but yeah. So let's do Boulder first, okay? So a guy named Mohammed Sabri Solomon, 45 years old, allegedly cited Free Palestine and attacked a crowd of Jewish people who were doing like a march or do this weekly walk to like call attention to the plight of the hostages or whatever. Mm-hmm. He used what cops describe as a makeshift flamethrower and incendiary devices. We'll get back to that in a second because it's a little. He had 8 people were injured. As of right now, no one has died. Praise be to Yahweh, Allah, baby Jesus, Vishnu.
Right, because they were older people, right? I read the thing that I read, the article I read said they ranged in age from like 52 to 88, and the 88-year-old person was a Holocaust refugee. I guess they're like a kid in the camps or something. So, pretty fragile physiologies there. Not really known for standing up to being set on fire. So apparently he didn't do the best job, which is good.
Right. Yeah. It's like, but again, it's like when the amount of people that come out of the woodwork when anything bad happens to make it worse is like extremely frustrating. Immediately, people were all over the internet. The MAGA Zionist sphere was saying this guy definitely had training. So this 44-year-old guy who was here on a tourist visa and expired work permit apparently is also Al Qaeda or something. And this attack he did. Okay, I saw the video of the aftermath. He's standing there with no shirt on, yelling with people while they film him. Okay, what he used for the attack was a backpack weed sprayer. One of those things you weed with, filled with gasoline, which the media is calling a flamethrower. Which I'm not even sure if he actually used that. Because, I feel like that would immediately blow up.
That's what I was going to say, too. I mean, it's like, dude, I've seen rednecks try to, just get a wet fire started with gas, just by pouring a little bit on it. Just
bad idea.
Immediately fucking basically explode themselves or singe all their fucking eyebrows off and stuff. So, yeah, I'm with you. It feels like that would, if you tried to do that, it would just, the flame would go right back up the tube and into your backpack and just firebomb yourself.
Yeah, and he also he apparently had 14 Molotov cocktails. He threw 2 of them, so he got 2 of them off, and they just sort of quit. He immediately confessed. He waited for the cops and said, "Yeah, I did it, and I'll do it again." So he's never getting out. He's already been charged with a federal hate crime and a bunch of other felonies. So then we get to the immigration part of this, where so. He had a tourist visa. He's apparently an Egyptian. And all this stuff, the people that jump in with certainty to know exactly what happened drive me insane. But as far as anyone can tell, he's an Egyptian national who first came here on a tourist visa that expired, first reporting 2023. The reason Egypt matters and when it expires matters is most people get 10-year tourist visas. So you get a 10-year visa, you can come and go from America as you please, right? If you're an Egyptian national, you get a 5-year visa. So if it expired in 2023, that means it was issued during the first Trump administration, which since we're all doing is gotcha shit, that would, I guess, matter to someone. I don't know. Then his tourist visa expired. He applied for a work permit that then expired, and then he'd applied for asylum. So he's not technically here illegally. His status, you want to know, get a sense of like the Amelia Bedelia-esque nature of our immigration system. He's in a gray area where he's both legally removable, but also not here illegally. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Right. Which so for them just counts as like removable and must go. I mean, even before this type of thing. Yeah, that's what's like, things like this. Well, I mean, obviously it's tragic and fucked up for a lot of reasons, but it's also annoying because of the type of ammunition it gives some of the worst people on earth. Do you know what I mean? He fits so many different narratives for them right now. Conveniently, he's a Muslim immigrant. He, shouted "Free Palestine" before committing a fucking hate crime against Jewish people or whatever. And it's all just so like, it's just going to fan flame. No pun intended. Fan flames. Right. I don't know. They're already pretty fanned. I don't know how much more you could even really fan them. But it's just, it's just a bummer because it gives people something to like latch on to or whatever.
Everything about it's a bummer. The fact that it happens is a bummer. The fact that we talk about it's the bummer. It's like they need to immediately lie and like feed human bodies into your fucking content machine. All right.
Yeah.
This guy did a Wile E. Coyote attack with the stupidest means possible. Actually managed to hurt some people and not kill himself somehow. And some of it's indictment of not just every Muslim but every immigrant. And I don't even know for sure he's a Muslim. I just know his first name's Muhammad. Egypt has Christians, but anyway, none of it's gonna. No one waits to find anything out anymore. So there we go. The facts as we know them as of 2:00 on Monday. All right. So Ukraine pulled off their own Pearl Harbor, except Russia should have been on a war footing considering what the hell this shit's been up to the past couple of years. Operation Spiderweb on a pure dude's rock scale, 10 out of 10. So what they did basically was smuggle 117 kamikaze drones into Russia and deposited them at the perimeter of 4 Russian air bases. This was one of those air bases was 2,500 miles behind Russian borders, deep in Siberia.
Damn.
I guess they hit them in the back of tractor trailers, and it's not, I think they were assembled in Russia somehow, like a covert operation. It's like not really sure what to make of it, but they destroyed it. These drones cost $400 to $600 a piece. $600 a piece. Kind of shit you could get at like Radio Shack and fucking
Word?
Best Buy. Yeah.
Damn. This is sort of like the modern day version of what's that true
Rogue
story
Heroes?
show? Yes, Rogue Heroes. Yes, exactly.
I thought the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys. Which tell everybody what that show's about. The World War II unit, what they did or whatever.
The formation of the SAS, Special Air Services, British Special Forces, who dropped behind German lines because the German Air Force, the British Air Force couldn't really compete with the German Air Force. The idea was you drop behind enemy lines, you destroy planes on the ground, right? So this is what they did. They destroyed at least $7 billion in equipment, a bunch of Tu-95 bombers, which is important because they're delivering a lot of like cruise missile attacks on Ukrainian civilians, but also what they use to deploy their nukes, hypothetically speaking, and there's something like 40% of their Tu-95 force seriously damaging the nuclear capability, which is the part of this that is a little bit concerning. We'll come back to that in a second. It's not all peaches and cream here. Russia can't really replace those Tu-95s from what I'm reading. So they didn't tell Trump, the administration, they were going to do this, according to the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah. Which, and I know everyone has said this, but it's like, it's your first thought, or it should be your first thought. It's like, well, yeah, that's why it worked. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, like, of course it didn't tell you. If they'd have told you, it would have gotten fucked up probably. Like, they were smart about it.
Pete Hegseth would have drunk signal texted it to his cousin or something.
Right.
But I mean, this isn't even about Russiagate stuff. They're also loose-lipped that somebody from the Trump administration might have just said it on the chat while they're playing League of Legends or something. Right.
So I saw people saying well, of course they didn't tell him, Trump's a Russian asset or whatever. And it's like, I don't know that he has the savvy to even be that technically or whatever. It's like you said, it's just they're so they're just so dumb and bad at what they do that they're like a security risk, an operational security risk. It doesn't even matter about what their intentions are. You just can't trust these motherfuckers. And it's like, this shows you that if Ukraine is holding stuff back, I'm sure there's tons of other allies of ours who are just leaving us out of the loop all the time on everything right now because, because why wouldn't they? They can't trust any of this shit. So it's just a fucking clown show over here. I don't blame any of them.
And there's also the part where, like, Tulsi Gabbard would have tried to talk Ukraine out of doing this, right? But also, she goes, they're not going to trust her because she used to be like a TV personality in Russia Today, right? But also, the Biden administration and Obama administrations before them would have also tried to talk them out of doing this because it risks severe escalation. Because you familiar with the term nuclear triad, Trey?
I've definitely heard that term, but I don't remember what it means.
All right, so the three-pronged area, the way nuclear deterrence works is you got your main fleet of nuclear missiles, which is hidden in silos, right? But the problem with silos is your enemies are going to know where they are and they're a fixed position, right? So then you pair that with submarines, which are hidden all the time. You can launch fewer nukes from them, but they can definitely get you if you launch your first attack on our silos, right?
Right.
So the third prong of that is bombers, all right? Bombers split the difference, where you both know where they are until you move them, right?
Yeah.
But you can't move them. So the reason they're able to find these fucking planes is because, according to the START treaty, the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, you have to leave those planes on the surface. You can't hide them underground so your enemies can see them before they launch, because that way you know when a first strike was coming, hypothetically, right? So, like, when we moved our D2s to Diego Garcia a couple months ago to Menace, Iran, we probably had to send like a top secret group chat to like China and Russia to let them know we were moving them, so they wouldn't get nervous, right?
Yeah.
So now, what is a nuclear power to do if they can eliminate a whole prong of your nuclear triad with shit you home assembled that you bought off the internet? A much weaker country, right? So we're just in a new era of asymmetrical warfare that Ukraine's kind of pioneering in real time, and I'm not sure what it does to the world's stability, but also fuck Putin, and I don't know what to make of it. So there you go.
All right.
I would say if I was a Russian general, I wouldn't stand near the open windows anytime soon. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get into the show, I had a little anecdote that I wanted to share, and I purposefully wanted to put it at the end of this opening segment because I knew we were going to be talking about, like, a brutal flamethrower attack. Well, Molotov, just something bad stuff, as we often do. Because this, I hope, will be, look, this is hugely anecdotal and so small in scale. Don't get me wrong. I just think this might cheer some people up in our audience to hear this, or at least make them feel somewhat better. And I'm curious to hear how you're going to respond to it. So I don't know if you ever remember me talking about it over the years, but years ago, for a good stretch of time, probably 4 or 5 years, but while we were doing the show, my Uncle Tim, my gay Uncle Tim back home in Salina, he was the co-chair of the Klay County Democratic Party, right? And they started that in the first Trump administration. They started this iteration of it in the first Trump administration, like 2018 or something. And then during the Biden administration, and about right after the pandemic, around 2022 or something like that, they finally just shut it down because they never had more than 5 people total, right, in the whole Klay County Democratic Party. Him, his co-chair, and their 3 constituents or whatever. And even when they would have a meeting, like 2 of the 5 people would be, one additional person and added to him and his co-chair would be there. So finally, during the Biden administration, they just, like, very discouragedly shut it down, right? Well, I was in Salina last week, and I spent a lot of time with Uncle Tim, and he told me that the preceding Sunday, the week before that, his co-chair, who had ran for office she's from Klay County, and she ran for, like, state congresswoman and didn't get any play at all because she ran as a Democrat. She had texted him and was like, hey, let's maybe put it back together and just see what happens, because, like, this shit is so crazy. We need to do something. We're in the middle of nowhere. We need to organize in some way. So let's just put it out there that, we're going to have another meeting, us and the 3 other people who do this, just, because I feel like we ain't doing nothing. And Uncle Tim was like, okay. So they announced that they were having their first in 2 or 3 years meeting of the Klay County Democratic Party at the courthouse last Sunday, or the Sunday before last. And when Uncle Tim showed up, he said there was like 37 people there, and it was standing room only. Like they didn't have enough seats for everybody in their first meeting back in that amount of time. And again, it's on the one hand, it's Salina, it's middle of nowhere. How much does it even mean? But it's also like it's one of the reddest parts of one of the reddest states in the country, and that's what is that? It's 600% increase or something like that out of nowhere. Yeah. And so, I thought that was just a lovely little piece of information that our audience would like to hear. So they're very encouraged. They're going to keep going. That was the first one, and they're back at it now. They're going to keep it up, and they're emboldened by that. So cool. That's what's happening in my neck of the woods. So
it's not just people switching sides. It's people being motivated to go to a meeting.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. All of which is good. All right. So thank you guys for being here. This is the show. Producer Matt's back there doing his thing. This is Weekly Skews. Before we get into the meat of it, I, of course, have my requisite announcements I must make. If you'd like to see me do stand-up live and in person, and of course you should want to do that, please go to TreyCrowder.com and check out my upcoming tour dates. I'm going to be in New York City next week doing 2 shows there, and then after that, Wine Country at the end of the month, and then a hometown show here in L.A. at Largo, the famous Largo Theater in West Hollywood, and then Tulsa, Oklahoma, San Diego, and a bunch of other places after that. So go to TreyCrowder.com and check out my upcoming tour dates. You can also check out a link to my latest special, Trash Daddy. That's on my website, too. It's available on YouTube. The link will take you there. Check that out. And producer Matt wants you to know, in following what I just said a minute ago, he started a new thing on our audio feed, audio only. So if you watch this show specifically, go subscribe to and check out the audio feed of the show, because only on the audio feed, producer Matt, the international man of mystery himself, is hosting a new segment, a new show on our Skews audio feed called Good Skews, where they only talk about good things. So again, me and Mark, we bring the despair, we bring the hopelessness. Matt tries to lift you back up in the same week. So check out that. And finally, if you want to support this show, you can sign up on Patreon. Go to weeklyskews.com/more. $5 a month, you get 2 full-length bonus episodes. So it's just this show, but more of it. Although every now and then we do interactive episodes where we answer your burning questions. So there's an additional element there. So if you like this show, support us and get more of it in the process. Consider signing up on Patreon. Now, as for the show tonight, we're going to be talking about the U.S. healthcare system and the interesting solution for its ills that the Republican Party seems to have found in the form of Joni Ernst, namely get sick and die early or pet a cow, and see how that goes. We'll elaborate a little later, but first we must begin the show, as we always do, with the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, people who thought Trump wouldn't be ride or die for a fellow New Yorker who was also all about the Benjamins.
Once in 2012 that Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen
it. Matt. So Trump was asked this by this. It's one of the doocies from Fox News or whatever.
Peter, I believe.
Peter, okay, yeah. One's Peter, one's Steve. I don't know which one's the father, which one's the son. It doesn't matter. They're both stupid. So he was asked this because Trump went on pardon spree last week, just pardoned a random assortment of weirdos.
Those reality show people or whatever.
We'll get to them. Yeah. So this sort of gets to like the stupid hunt for a liberal Joe Rogan. This sort of gets like, okay, so when I first got the news alert that Trump had been asked about this, I thought what had happened was, so the White House media has figured out that whenever they need to fill a quota for a clickbait story, they can ask Trump about anything, and he'll go, we're looking into it, right?
Right. That's just his standard response, yeah.
So then when I realized it was Fox News asking it, it sort of blew my mind because they hate Diddy and they like Trump. So why would they set him up like this? But like, it sort of gets to the whole thing of the eternal hunt for liberal Joe Rogan is like, you cannot compete with the level of stupid going in the right wing, like YouTube manosphere, because they're so pop culture focused that you have to be brain dead to care about the stuff they care about. You can't recreate it. Like if you turn on Candace Owens or Ben Shapiro or any of those people, you're going to be talking about Blake Lively. They're all in on the Diddy trial because they think like there's going to be information that comes out that like there's sex tapes that show like Beyonce and Oprah double teaming Barack Obama or something. And the fact this was all set in motion because Suge Knight said that Trump should pardon Diddy is like sort of like the level of we're being led around by fucking stupid bullshit here. If you guys haven't been following the Diddy trial, Sean Combs faces 5 criminal counts, racketeering, which could carry a maximum sentence of life in prison, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. So basically sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. But like, I want someone to ask Trump to explain why he thinks what Diddy was good, because I want to hear Trump talk about how it was good to plot to blow up Kid Cudi's Porsche because he peaked with the first Man on the Moon album or something.
Yeah. I saw there's some other rappers, I mean, most of which don't hit or whatever, but who the Kid Cudi, we all know snitches get stitches and all that, but I saw a lot of like not a lot, again, some mostly shitty fellow rappers getting down on Kid Cudi for like whatever, like talking about this, or they're like, oh, Kid Cudi needs to keep it hip hop. What's Kid Cudi doing? He's fucking narking on him or whatever. And it's like, Kid Cudi's it's not like they were in criminal league together and Cudi is rolling over on him to keep him out of prison or whatever. Like, this motherfucker tried to blow him up. Like, that's not the same thing, in my opinion. Like, you allowed to tell somebody tries to blow you up if you're just a fucking innocent, bystander or participant in the proceedings.
Neither one of them are gangster rappers either. Like Kid Cudi is like an emo rapper.
He's like a backpack rapper, yeah.
Right, and Diddy was like a dance rapper who he wasn't a gangster rapper. He was a rapper who then pivoted to being a gangster once he was rich and could become a sex criminal. Right. So, like, it's got things out of order. This is not the snitches get stitches wing of hip-hop here. Right.
Yeah, my dad, rest his soul, he's been gone for a long time, but he would have been vindicated by this story because he always used to call P. Diddy Puff Daddy at the time. He was toying with different names. Just never sat right with my dad. And I don't mean in just a typical redneck way. Something about P. Diddy specifically. He never liked. My dad used to call him Dip Shitty. That's what he called him.
All right.
So he's wherever he's at, which is nowhere. But still, he's validated and responsible. Yeah. Tell us about.
I don't think my dad had a specific opinion about Puff Daddy.
Well, my dad. Listen, my dad had to because unfortunately, Mark, I hate to say either of these things, but the two first albums, CDs at the time that I bought with my own money that I had were Will Smith's Big Willie Style and also Puff Daddy and the Bad Boy Family, No Way Out. Those were the two first CDs that I bought. So I was kind of bombarding my dad with P. Diddy for a while.
With bad pop circus rap?
Yeah. Yes.
So From the wing of hip hop that is Snitches Get Stitches, we got a weird take. Well, 50 Cent is hilarious, dude.
He's one of the funniest people alive. I don't care what anybody says.
He came out specifically, the guy who thinks that he got shot 9 times and didn't die, used to be a drug dealer, is like, put Diddy in prison and keep him there because he's such a huge Diddy hater. Yeah. And he did it in the funniest way. He did it by sucking up to Trump. 50 Cent said, told Trump to reach out so he can know how I feel about this guy. And he snitched on Diddy, saying his past comments about Trump should prevent a potential pardon. Quote, Donald doesn't take well to disrespect and doesn't forget who chooses to go against him, which is just the funniest way to play this.
Yeah, he posted a clip of Diddy back in the day talking a little bit of shit about Trump, right? Because everybody's been talking about him getting pardoned, and so 50 digs up this fucking old clip of Diddy shitting on Trump, knowing the way Trump is, and he's like, "Ooh, gonna be hard for him to pardon you now." But 50 Cent is a first ballot Hall of Fame generational talent hater, dude. He's like, it's unreal how good he is at it, man. He wants it. People don't know he had a famous beef with Ja Rule, and years after the beef was ostensibly over, and Ja Rule's career was very much on the downturn, 50 Cent bought up like the first 10 rows of the venue that Ja Rule was playing a show in, and then had no one show up. So when Ja Rule walked out there, like it was half empty in there because 50 had bought all the tickets and just set them on fire because fuck that motherfucker. He's something else, man.
The Floyd Mayweather stuff. And
oh my god.
The beef where
dude.
I forget the specifics of the incidents, but like somehow Nelly went to a nightclub and left with Floyd Mayweather's fiance for the second time, a second different fiance, and somehow 50 became Floyd's archenemy in that spat.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, because I know we got a very white audience, if you're not familiar with 50 Cent and Floyd Mayweather's whole thing, please, for the love of God, Google it now. It's absolutely fucking hilarious.
Challenge to read one full page from Harry Potter.
Harry Potter book. Yeah. It's so funny, dude. It's so funny.
So Trump, like I said, let's go on to the people Trump actually has pardoned. It's 17 last week. Just like not a single person who remotely deserves it outside of maybe NBA YoungBoy, another rapper.
Of course.
So a guy named Paul Walzak was a nursing home executive who pled guilty last year to charging his employee. He uses employees' withheld earnings to buy a yacht and fancy clothes and shit like that. He was sentenced to only 18 months for ruining a lot of employees' lives and paid $4.4 million in restitution. Then his mom, who in a separate story was involved in making Ashley Biden's diary public, donated $1 million to have dinner with Donald Trump, and now Walzak got pardoned a few days later.
Right. That's what I was going to ask. I mean, I know you haven't looked through all of these, but like, is there always that blatant of a connection with all these people? Meaning, like, you look in all these cases, and at some point, someone wrote a check to Donald Trump or his campaign or his company or something or his golf course, and
I mean, I can't okay. The next one we're talking about, he pardoned Larry Hoover, who was the head of the Gangster Disciples, who's been in prison for a long time. He's a gang from Chicago. He got pardoned from his federal charges. He still has a state life sentence. Like, only thing I can figure about why Trump pardoned him is because Kanye's been advocating for it. So it's maybe Kanye bought some Trump coin or something. That's possible, but I didn't see any reporting on that. But the thing about Hoover is, like, so he pardoned from his federal charges, so he gets moved from a cushier federal prison to a shitty state prison to serve out the rest of his life.
Right.
He fucked him by pardoning him.
Right, yeah.
And the same thing, people have been advocating for Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin, and a bunch of people are like, oh, the riots it would take. First of all, do not riot if Trump pardons Derek Chauvin from his federal charges, because he just goes to a shittier state prison where his odds of him getting murdered go through the roof.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, and I say a lot of people, and I'm including myself, because our buddy Drew is a lawyer. He's the person I learned from the fact that federal prison is not worse. Because you watch movies and shit, there's like famous movies and stuff that are like, oh, you federally fucked now. Or like, you will go to federal fuck me in the ass prison. Like, these are famous movie quotes. You just assume federal prison is the worst. And I didn't know till Drew told me. He's like, dude, no. He's like, you're better off in federal prison than in state prison. So, yeah.
Federal prison's like kidnappers, bank robbers, and drug dealers. State prison's murderers.
Right.
So, like, yeah, you'd much rather go to a federal prison. So in the context of all this, why these random weirdos are getting pardoned. So, Eagle Ed Martin, they call him Eagle Ed. I don't know why. The guy who was U.S. attorney for D.C. for a little bit, but couldn't get the permanent job because he did podcasts with the guy with a Hitler mustache, that guy. So, Trump's made him pardon attorney at the DOJ, and he posted on Twitter/X, no MAGA left behind, right? So this is all out in the open. Just basically, if you love Donald Trump, you get pardoned unless you're Joe Exotic.
I was about to say, what about our boy Joe Exotic, though? But sincerely, though, why is Joe Exotic being left behind at this point? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you look at the list of other people he's pardoning, like, because Joe Exotic has held the line. We talked about it when we brought it up on the episode. Like, he stayed true to the game and everything. Like, I don't understand. I don't get why he's not let him out, given the other, moves that he's made. It's weird.
Yeah. I can't figure out. Okay, so play this clip. This is Todd and Julie Chrisley. If you got this, Matt, former reality TV stars.
We're blessed to have our family back, and we're blessed to be coming back to television because we do have a much bigger story to tell now than we ever have. So I thank each and every one of you.
So he goes on to talk about how they're going to be back on. He's talking about how they're going to be glad to be back on TV because they got a bigger story to tell. And I'm like, do they already have a deal in place for a show about the return to reality TV? And what Trump got for this is an executive producer credit?
Okay, Mark, remind me who these people are, like, in the context of reality TV. Like, what was their show? How big were they? Because I don't know these people.
It ran like 9 seasons on USA, okay? It was called Chrisley Knows Best. And it used to drive me crazy because as a person who hates reality TV outside of traders,
My man.
I could not figure out because it was just a show about a guy, he's a guy who's on a show. That's the whole thing. He's just this guy who presents as like, typical Southern guy who's closeted gay guy who's rich for some reason they can't explain. And it turns out the reason they were rich that they couldn't explain is because they lied to banks and got a bunch of fraudulent loans, which is what they ended up in prison for.
Yeah, you'll have that. Yeah.
So the show they fucked up by getting famous on TV for being a family who was inexplicably wealthy, and someone looked into it, and it turns out it was all crime all the way down. All right. So they were indicted by a federal grand jury in August 2019 on 12 counts, including conspiracy to commit bank fraud, wire fraud, and tax evasion. After prosecutors alleged they used falsified financial statements to secure more than $30 million in loans. They had a 3-week jury trial. Are both found guilty. And then they allocated it and they admitted their guilt in order for more lenient sentences. And now they're pretending they didn't do it because they got pardoned. All right. And like, they did this thing in their press conference. They're like, one thing I learned about the criminal justice system is there are 2 tiers. There are a lot of like young African-American men are being treated very poorly. Todd does that spiel. And I'm like, they're treated lesser than. I'm like, yeah, they're being treated lesser than. You got fucking pardoned and they didn't.
Right.
So you're also like, they pardoned, we've got to speed through this because we're running way behind, sorry. But like they pardoned a guy who was a Democrat. He was on the Cincinnati City Council president. It seems because some rich benefactors of his paid to get him out. These people are this evil rich couple who wanted to keep like an apartment building from being built in their neighborhood. And so they kicked her off a park board because she was trying to stop that. And he's abstained from the votes. They bought his freedom in exchange for like trying to keep her on a park board. This is also fucking petty. But anyway, George Santos and Joe Exotic still rotting in prison. I do want to say the NBA YoungBoy thing. Government name Kentrell Golden. He's got a rap sheet, the proverbial mile long. Usually for knucklehead shit. Like he got charged with attempted murder for firing off a gun. It pled down to a simple assault and got probation. Kidnapping his then girlfriend. He was charged in Utah for running a prescription fraud ring by using a fake identity and imitating a pharmacy customer's voice via cell phone to purchase over-the-counter prescription drugs to fuel his codeine binge. He got sued for assaulting his bodyguard, which to me, if you can beat up your bodyguard, it seems like your bodyguard just failed like a quarterly review.
Yeah.
Those are all state level charges, okay? He's already got it's not that he's getting off scot-free for a life of impunity from crimes. The federal charges, 2 separate gun cases where like cops pulled him over and used a police dog to sniff around his car. And like, this feels like cheap to me. It's like when cops needed cheap arrests, they would used to like go raid a porn theater and arrest guys for jerking off. They need to run up their numbers. Like if you need to arrest somebody, pull over a rapper with a gun dog and sniff around, right? He also, at his trial, the prosecutors tried to introduce his lyrics as evidence, which is to me is get out of jail free every time. Like bang the gavel, fucking walk. You guys are the way. We got the First Amendment for the time being anyway. Anyway, he's my 17-year-old nephew's favorite rapper, so turn him loose, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a transitional dumbass for you guys, and here it is. Nihilists who have yet to get on board the Trump train to make America goth again. This is Iowa Senator and noted bitch Joni Ernst at a town hall.
So people are not, well, we all are going to die. So,
the first honest thing Republicans said about like public health policy in this country for a long time was like, she was talking about Medicaid cuts there, okay?
Right, from the big beautiful bill. We're going to cut big Medicaid cuts. So
Did you
they were
see
asking
the
about, she was talking about it, someone in the crowd yelled out, "People are going to die," and that was her response.
Yeah. So I know we mentioned this before, but just for the record, they're trying to make the biggest cuts to Medicaid in the program's 60-year history. It cuts $880 billion from Medicaid. It's a move that resulted in 8.6 million of the poorest Americans losing their health care coverage. That's on top of the 5 million already projected to lose Medicaid coverage over the next decade as a result of other policy changes. This has been called morally wrong and politically suicidal by noted left-wing lib Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri.
Yeah, this is that classic Onion headline of like, it says, devastating. The worst person you know just made a really good point. That's what, anytime Josh Hawley is right about something, that's...
And she's like facing like a serious, like a legit challenger. I think, and then she made a follow-up video where she did it from a cemetery where she doubled down about how yes, we're all going to die. And you need to find Christ.
Well, the follow-up video is nuts. Well, it's not even just that. I mean, it is what you just said, but it also the way she presents it is just so. I'm sorry, bitchy. Because she starts off in the apology video by being like, "Listen, I need to apologize for something that happened at a town hall yesterday." And in the middle of it, while talking about Medicaid cuts, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but she's like, someone says, people are going to die. And I said, without really thinking, well, we all die someday. And I need to apologize because I didn't realize at the time that so many people were unfamiliar with the fact that we're all going to die with the mortality of I didn't realize that would be news to people, and I should have thought about that. Thank God someone didn't ask me about the tooth fairy. Also, please devote your lives to Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. So yeah, it was her being like willfully shitty about that's the thing. Do you think, here's my, like, is it her? And I think it is, because she put herself in a cemetery. It is her being willfully shitty about, like, misrepresenting what that person meant, versus is she dumb enough to believe that that's what happened? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it is. I think it's like, it's just her being an asshole. It's like, because that's not what, that isn't the point of what that lady said. Of course, we all know that we're going to die someday. These people are just saying, like, we'd like to stretch that out as long as we can, and healthcare helps tremendously in doing so. So if you cutting it out makes people die earlier, and she knows that that's what that lady meant. She's just being shitty about it.
Because according to Joni's logic, murder should be legal because we're going to die anyway. What do you even do?
Right. Exactly.
So the irony of doing this in Iowa, when Iowa's cancer rates are going up faster than almost anywhere else in the country. Like right now, Iowa's number 2 in cancer incidence, and with rates going up. And best as anyone can tell, it's because the pesticide use and the exponential growth of concentrated animal feeding operations. Nitrate levels in the drinking water, they exceed the EPA standards, which were set in 1962, have made a lot of people's water unsafe to drink. You got a lot of cancer and birth defects related to nitrate exposure via drinking water. Like, you're talking about increased risk for a lot of different cancers, including colon, kidney, stomach, bladder, ovarian, blood, thyroid, just all related to the long-term consumption of Iowa's drinking water.
You're right. Presumably this is all coming from shit that we put into the crops there. Iowa's farm country. So pesticides and shit like that. Well, I'm sure RFK Jr.'s got that under control, or got a plan for that, right?
Oh, yeah. So they put out a big part. Iowa specifically, they put out a bunch of big health reports lately, which are largely bullshit. But like one of them did say that like there were a lot of pesticides are a problem, and one promise that RFK Jr. made was that we were not going to do anything about pesticides. Do not worry, right?
Right.
So we're defunding the bird flu vaccine.
Right.
We're defunding all the cancer treatments and cancer research and the cure for Alzheimer's they're about to put out, and the AIDS vaccines they're about to put out. But we're going to keep the pesticides, right? And so, like, it kills. It's like, yeah, it kills people, but don't worry about it because it might cost some businesses money. Can anybody do some research about whether or not having cancer is free?
Yeah.
Why are we only concerned about solving money on the front end of stuff? It's very fucking weird.
I just feel like, to me, it's like if you're paying any attention at all and you actually care about the shit that he purports to care about, this undermines everything he ever says, because it's classic. Like lobbyists, or they can't piss off they can't lose the farming vote or whatever it is. Like they just have, but he can't stand up there and pretend to care about making America as healthy as possible, while openly being like, but we're just going to have to deal with these pesticides because, you know, I mean, fucking corn, we got to have more corn.
To put in gas tanks, even though it's worse than gas. So, like, they're ramping up efforts to give Americans cancer, and they're not just cutting Medicaid. They're cutting, like, they know that getting rid of Obamacare would be unpopular, so instead they're doing a bunch of, like, weird tricks with it to try to sabotage Obamacare. So, like, they're actively trying to give you cancer while taking away your ability to get treated for cancer, while defunding the research to cure your cancer. And so what other health issues is RFK Jr. concerned about, you might wonder? What is he on top of? Well, here you go, if you got this video, Matt.
A teenager today, an American teenager, has less testosterone than a 68-year-old. Sperm counts are down 50%.
Wait,
girls are
an
hitting
American
puberty 6 years
teenager
early.
has less testosterone than a 60-year-old.
That's not true. You can cut it back. So everything they're saying is made up, but what he is concerned about is the sperm counts of teen boys, okay? You got to get the sperm count up so they have kids young because they'll be dead by 30 of cancer.
They also just, like, big money capitalists and stuff worldwide seem very upset at people for not being convinced that they should reproduce or whatever, or people not having enough kids anymore. You know what I mean? Like, because their workforce is going to be depleted and all that shit. It's like you gotta have grist for the wage slave mill.
Worldwide, the birth rate is fine.
Okay,
it's the Northern Hemisphere white birth rate.
Right. Well, but also eight in Korea and Japan, which are hyper capitalist countries, right? Korea and Japan. Yeah. So I'm saying, they're worried about it because they need their fucking worker drones. You know, they need those bees or whatever. It's like you can't have the poor stop having babies.
My point is, you could just let in immigrants and the problem solves itself. But you got to do that.
But that's gross. So yeah.
So they put out a big, like, 500-page MAHA report a couple days ago that they were treating like it was a big deal. Then it turns out a lot of the studies they studied just purely didn't exist, right? What it did, it looks like AI, large language model hallucinations. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. In one section about mental health medication, which Kennedy has railed against for years, the report cites a review paper claims showed that therapy alone is as or more effective than psychiatric medicine. But one of that paper's statisticians told Notice, the publication wrote this article, the conclusion doesn't make sense given their study didn't even attempt to measure or compare therapy's effectiveness as a mental health treatment. Quote, we did not include psychotherapy in our review. We only compared the effectiveness of antidepressants against each other and against a placebo. So what we have here is the ChatGPT presidency. Apparently what RFK did was, like, ask Grok, why are the kids so fat, weak, and gay? Give me pages.
Very naively on my part, until this moment of this episode of this show, I had not considered the fact that the way teachers are complaining about school kids using AI incessantly and ChatGPT and stuff to just write their papers and do their homework for them and they're not learning anything, the idea that Congress people would be doing that too with legislation and shit, that they'll just be able to tell AI, hey, put me some legislation together that, you know, holds up to cursory scrutiny about how this country isn't fucking healthy enough, and as such we need less regulations or whatever the fuck prompt you want to feed to it, and AI prints out a 500-page bill, and that's what they'll be doing from here on out.
Bro, I mean, Stephen Miller got caught using it for executive orders. There have been people who work at, like, high-dollar white shoe law firms have been caught using ChatGPT to write legal briefs that hallucinates cases. Like, I don't know. I can't figure out what the fuck people are doing. So let's talk about the humans are put in charge of stuff, because they're not much better than they don't make much sense. They hallucinate just as much as the fucking ChatGPT robots.
Sure.
So Trump had to pick a new Surgeon General nominee recently because his first one, her name was Dr. Jeanette Nishawat. She had to withdraw her nomination because she lied about where she went to med school. So instead, Trump chose to nominate a woman who, here's a catch here, doesn't even pretend she went to medical school.
Well, hey, you know, you can't complain about the med school she went to if she didn't go to one. Fucking tap your temple. Argue with that, Mark.
Checkmate, baby.
Yeah.
So the woman, she's an author by the name of Dr. Casey Means. I don't know what doctor means in this context. I'm assuming she got her PhD in something, okay? When I said she didn't go to medical school, I mean she didn't finish. She dropped out of a medical residency in otolaryngology because she said she was frustrated that the discipline did not focus on, quote, root causes. That especially is something like an ear, nose, and throat specialist. So, like, what are the root causes of ear infections, Trey?
The phases of the moon, Mark. Surprised you didn't know that.
Apparently. So here's the big quote here from Dr. Means. We will get instructions through human inspiration and reason for what we need to do to raise the vibration of humanity and create a sustainable future. The future of medicine will be about light. I don't know exactly how yet.
Dude. How has this happened? What's the word for this? Kakistocracy or something like that, which is government by the least qualified or most stupid people in a society. Like, we've arrived there. It's beyond self-parody, man. It's one of those things where it's like you have to keep reminding yourself, this is real. This is all real. It's fucking crazy.
Buddy, it's not just stupid, it's stupid grifts. Let me quote here
right.
from Dr. Means. Humans are out of alignment with the earth and depleting its life force, she wrote the next month after that quote I just read. And human bodies are now exhibiting signs of blocking the flow of energy through them. This is insulin resistance. We are the earth. She sells glucose monitors, if you wonder what this is going on about. She's also hailed raw dairy, right? How she wants to quote, so instead of doing medicine, this is what we need to do. You need to quote, to be free to form a relationship with a local farmer, understand his integrity, look him in the eyes, pet his cow, and then decide if I feel safe to drink the milk from his farm. Okay,
to quote the legendary Cat Williams, we got bills and shit. Fucking who has the goddamn time to go down to your nearest dairy farm, meet and talk to the farmer, look him in the eyes and be like, somehow this means that your cow's titty milk is fine for me. Like, what the fuck is she talking about? But RFK Jr. just did a little, like a PR stunt where him and somebody else drank some raw milk, right, as part of a press conference or something like that?
That's how they shots of raw milk to celebrate the issuing that Maha report. All right. So Casey Means, what she's talking about is so you drive to your farm to pet the cat, look at your farmer in the eye and pet his cow, see if you're okay drinking a glass of his milk. Then I guess you go to a different farm, pet a chicken to see if you're okay eating eggs. Then you drive to Florida and talk to a guy who grows oranges and see if you trust him, his oranges are safe. And now, after traveling a few thousand miles, you've got breakfast covered, kind of.
Right.
So, you're right. We outsource this shit because we got bills to pay. We pay a little bit of our income in taxes, so someone else is checking out this shit, looking the farmer in the eye and making sure his cow's safe, the eggs are safe, the oranges are safe.
Well, also, dude, it's one of those things where it's like, milk is huge in this country. Fucking white people love milk. We've been drinking this pasteurized milk for all of our collective living memory, and lactose intolerance is a thing, sure, but they have lactate and that sort of deal. And it's the same thing I always think about when they would bitch about the vaccine, how the vaccine was going to make everybody like a 5G cancer beacon or whatever. And it's like, that we all, so many of us got it and are not that, right? That we did it and that didn't happen. So what the fuck are you talking about? It's a similar thing with pasteurized milk. It's like, who's been fucking pounding the table about the evils of pasteurized milk in this country over the past, century or whatever? Who's been going out there and be like, this stuff, we got to take a closer look at this stuff. It's fucking people up. Because as far as I'm aware, it hasn't been outside of, giving somebody diarrhea when they eat too much cheese or whatever.
Right. But but one thing they're doing is they've had this. The FDA said this is not under HHS, so it's not RFK's fault. This is more Brooke Rollins' fault because the FDA is under the Department of Agriculture. So the FDA has suspended quality tests for milk and other dairy products because of Trump administration budget cuts. They don't have the staff to run a program that ensures the quality of milk and other dairy products. So starting last week, the FDA suspended its proficiency testing program for Grade A raw milk and finished products. Grade A is given to products that meet the highest sanitary standards. So how do you know it's Grade A? We know it's Grade A because we didn't test it.
Yeah, well, again, to draw another COVID parallel, it's like in Florida, when like the data showed that it wasn't so bad there wasn't as many cases or incidents or whatever, but they weren't testing for it. So it's like, well, of course your numbers are lower. You're not checking for it. It's like it's that type of thing, the willful manipulation of data. But to what end is my thing? Like, I mean, why? Just because RFK Jr. is some like crystal oven fucking weirdo cracker who's got it in his head that any of these like scientific approaches to food and nutrition are automatically evil? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is even... Why? Why are we even doing this? So I mean, I think that about so many things, but this in particular is like, what is the fucking point? Like,
there was the E. coli outbreak recently that no one really knows about because the government didn't announce it and they didn't do a recall. So like no one was tracking it. There was just an outbreak and everyone was just like, it's fine. And like, I don't think anybody died from it, but like it's not going to be like that forever. And they've like the amount of stuff they've defunded. Like I saw a woman talking about how like they've defunded programs that are going to filter down to county health departments, not just vaccine programs, but like they're not going to be able to test the water in county pools. It's like people are going to get more rashes. So when I say stuff like people didn't vote for this, I don't think a single American voted to get more rashes in the community pools. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But they did. That's what they're getting, right? But even just on the milk front, let me quote here because we're forgetting our history. I want to talk about some historical stuff for a second. This information is from the Smithsonian, okay? In the 1850s, milk sold in New York City was so poor and the contents of bottles so risky that one local journalist demanded to know why the police weren't called on dairymen. In the 1880s, an analysis of milk in New Jersey found the, quote, liquefying colonies of bacteria to be so numerous that the researchers simply abandoned the count. They stopped counting because they couldn't figure out how much bacteria was in milk. There were other factors besides risky strains of bacteria that made 19th century milk untrustworthy. The worst of those are the many tricks that dairymen used to increase their profits. For example, in New York, not just in New York, but nationwide, dairy producers thinned milk out with water, sometimes containing a little gelatin, and recolored the resulting bluish-gray liquid with dyes, chalk, or plaster dust.
Right. That's the type of thing that businesses always used to do for so long. And it's like one of those things, like we live so far away, removed from this enough chronologically that people just don't think about or care about this shit anymore. But like, this is the type of shit that businesses used to do until we started regulating them and forcing them not to do it. Like back in that late 1800s, early 1900s, like your uncle would work at a meat packing plant. He'd fucking slip and fall one day, and now he's spam, right? He's just spam. Yeah. They just put him in a can, and it's like, and that's where, and who is on board with that? Who is okay with that? It's like they just, I don't know. It's like they just think like, well, nobody's doing that. Why are we spending all these, this time and resources making sure that people are, that you can't do that? Because nobody's doing that anyway. And it's like, nobody's doing it because we forced them to stop through governmental regulation for years and years. Like if you take it away, they'll go right back to doing this shit. They'll find, in a fucking profit-driven world, they'll find any margin they can. It doesn't matter how unhealthy or whatever it might be. That's not how these people think. Like you have to force them to not fuck their customers over for an extra $1 on the bottom line. Right. And like, I don't know how people.
I saw some partly. If you wonder, like Corey, it's been too long since people have touched a hot stove. They just assume this. They assume live in a world where this wouldn't happen.
Right.
Right. Which just go watch Aaron Brockovich. I don't know what to tell you. So like, but there was polling recently where like for the first time in like 50 years, just a basic question of like, should the government's doing too much versus the government should do more to solve people's problems. For the first time in like 50 years, the government should do more than to solve people's problems is polling at like 59%. Okay, so for a party that thinks the government is capable of doing good things when it tries and is well funded and while also being restrained, like I do and I think you do as well, that like
right.
This is a generational opportunity for a functional oppositional party.
Mm-hmm.
Pray for one.
Yeah, it's not looking good right now.
Because rebuilding this stuff is going to take fucking moxie and aggression and a fortitude that a lot of people are not exhibiting right now, or otherwise we're going to go back. I want to read more from the Smithsonian, okay? Dairy milk makers also faked the look of rich cream by using a yellowish layer of pureed calf brains. A historian of the Indiana Health Department wrote, quote, people could not be induced to eat brain sandwiches in a sufficient amount to use all the brains, so a new market was devised. No one wanted to eat the calf brains, so they came with the bright idea to have people drink it unknowingly. And finally, if the milk was threatening to sour, dairymen added formaldehyde, an embalming compound long used by funeral parlors to stop the decomposition, also relying on a slightly sweet taste to improve the flavor. Milk was so rancid.
Is that formaldehyde in that? That's I'm sensing notes of formaldehyde. Truly exquisite.
Right. You gotta get a milk sommelier to taste to see if you're else for you gotta. We all have to get tasters like Kings used to have to see if formaldehyde's in our milk. So because this will save $2 on tax dollars, but you got to pay a guy $40,000 a year to drink your milk. Mm-hmm. So in the 1890s, formaldehyde was so widely used by the dairy and meatpacking industries that outbreaks of illnesses related to the preservative were routinely described by newspapers as, quote, embalmed meat or embalmed milk scandals. This happened often enough that there was a fucking name for it, and everyone recognized what they were. So, do dairy makers and meat packers still have these recipes lying around? We're going to fucking find out, baby.
So here's my question mark before we go. You said we're going to find out, and that's one thing we keep... I feel like that's been a recurring theme in these nascent stages of the second Trump administration, where it's like, this is going to... all these policies and stuff they're trying to do, it's going to fuck over so many people, you know, eventually. Like, it will have... for them, unanticipated effects that they somehow don't see coming. It'll make their lives worse. Will that actually have the effect of turning them against them, though? Like, even when that happens, will enough people realize, like, this is fucked up? And it kind of goes back to the, you know, the anecdote I told about Uncle Tim versus, like, you know, whatever the response to Joni Ernst is and all this. Like, it just, sitting here waiting, like, are you guys going to realize how much these people are fucking you all over? But then it's like, yeah, they've ramped it up in the past few years, but they've been doing that for so long, and like Democrats just get blamed for it anyway or whatever, like because of propaganda and shit. They, you know, they just cast aspersions somewhere else and it doesn't matter. Like, is there a way that it can matter?
You're asking me if material reality is going to matter anymore with the rise of like
right.
deep fake videos and shit. I don't fucking know. I kind of feel like whether or not people are hungry and sick is the most important thing to them. But I can't. We're in new water. We're in new waters
right.
and all this stuff. So
uncharted
I can't,
territory.
Yeah. So I mean, the fact that people are going to notice being poorer. They're going to notice their kids being dumber and sicker. Mm-hmm. They're going to notice, you know, they're having less rights. They're going to notice this shit. You know, it's how you can't really hide it. So you can only lie to people for so long, is my suspicion, but that's my hope for you.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm with you. That's what I keep. Yeah. That's what I keep hoping too. On the other hand, I sort of worried that it'll be spun some different way somehow, and they'll just eat all that up. The
Democrats nominate like a ballsy half a socialist unity ticket of J.B. Pritzker and like, you know, Liz Cheney. And then 2 days before the election, there's like a deep fake video of the two of them like getting fucked by donkeys, and then it swings the election. So I don't know.
Ain't that America? Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. I remind you again, please go to TreyCrowder.com. Check out my upcoming tour dates. Come and see me out there on the road. Also, on the website, you can find a link to my most recent special, Trash Daddy. Please watch it if you haven't already. You can support the show on Patreon. You can go to weeklyskews.com/more or go on Patreon and search for my name. You'll find it either way. $5 a month, you get access to 2 full-length bonus episodes. Get more of the show in your life, support it in the process. And finally, again, if you're only a watcher of this show, please go and check out and subscribe to the audio-only version of it, because producer Matt is doing a special piece of audio-exclusive content called Good Skews. So stuff that'll hopefully uplift, warm the cockles of your cold, dead hearts. Producer Matt has got that for you on the audio feed of this show. So check it out. But primarily, just keep showing up and watching this, and we'll keep making them. We appreciate it. We'll see you in 7 days. Love you. Bye.
Skews.